everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to make this video today because 2 years ago, I realized that all the content, all the podcasts, the books on self-development, on productivity, on finance that I was consuming were all written or hosted by men. And while I'm not hating on men here, men are cool. It's just that men and women, we are different and that is totally okay. But what I needed was advice by other women who've experienced what it's like to be in a woman's body, how to be productive, how to get the best out of this body that I have. And female anatomy is complex and we are never taught about it in school properly. Which is why I thought this video is so important to make, and I'm going to be sharing my top books that every single woman should read. Even guys, if you've got a girlfriend, if you've got a best friend who's a girl, understand it's so important to be educated. So I am going to be dividing my recommendations into 4 categories: self-confidence and badassery, knowledge, female anatomy and understanding your body, and lastly, inspiration and mindset setting. So without further ado, drum roll, let's get into the video. Okay, had to change my background there a bit because my back was on fire. But now we start with our first category, the self-confidence and badassery section. And the award for the best book in this category goes to Women Don't Owe You Pretty. One of the best books that I've read in the last 2 years that I keep going back to. I keep rereading the highlights and just keep reminding myself that all the conditioning that we've been brought up with as women is just not true. It's simply not true. It's not based on any fact. And it really blew my mind. It made me unlearn a lot of things that I've always believed in. I had to kind of let go of it. It made me uncomfortable. And I think the best part about this book is that it's written in such an easy language. It's so direct, it's so funny that when you're reading it, you're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to be shocked, but everything is easy, everything is digestible. It's not one of those books with a lot of jargon, you know? And every single chapter breaks the wall of conditioning brick by brick and sets you up for a brand new life where you're going to be confident being the badass that you are as a woman. Just trust me on this one. My 3 favorite chapters from this book are, number 1 is the chapter that's built on the beauty myth. It basically talks about how the entire beauty industry just feeds on the insecurity of women, telling women that natural aging is bad for you. Body hair makes you unhygienic. Without makeup, you're not beautiful. And all of these things that we're conditioned to believe are just built on this one industry that makes so much money feeding off of women's insecurities. And when you read that book, you start to question a lot of the things you do without realizing, and a lot of the things you spend your money and time on. And then you realize, do I even want to do that? And why am I doing this? Why is my idea of beauty built on someone else's definition who's making money off of it? It's just like a light bulb. And one of the quotes, I have all my quotes here in my Kindle on the side. And one of my favorite quotes from this chapter is, beauty standards are not universal truths. They're carefully constructed lies designed to keep you buying more. Think about that for a second. Anyway, after this, I also love the cool girl trope chapter because I think I tried to be the cool girl for a really long time. The cool girl trope chapter talks about how women make themselves to be low maintenance, more agreeable, more chill, just so that men could appreciate how cool they are because they don't want to come off as difficult. Most women who speak up, who fight, or who are just loud in general are labeled as difficult. Even I have been labeled as difficult many times as a content creator because a lot of times if I get a brand deal that doesn't stand with my values, or if they're offering me very little money and asking me to do a lot, I speak up and I'm called difficult. And you know what? The same thing wouldn't happen if it was a man. And so it's very important to let go of this need of being cool in the eyes of men. And the chapter ends with the quote, summarizes it pretty well. It says the cool girl trope is a tool of patriarchy. It's designed to keep women in a submissive role by rewarding compliance and punishing authenticity. Yeah, something to think about, right? So definitely, right after this video ends, first you subscribe to the channel and then you order Women Don't Owe You Pretty. It also touches upon relationships a lot, by the way, and it'll help you deal with a lot of things I'm sure every girl has faced while dating. So yeah, just go read it. And now the award for the best book in the knowledge category goes to Invisible Women. Oof. I created this category called knowledge especially for this book, because I personally feel that knowledge is power. I mean, cliche, but as women, when we're growing up in school, there are so many things that aren't taught to us, and we just keep living life without realizing how biased a lot of things around us are, and how we can actually make our lives a lot better and make lives better for other women as well. And so Invisible Women is a great book for that. And Invisible Women talks about the gender data gap. Essentially, that most of the data used to design the world around us, from office spaces to roads, parking lots, food, health, nutrition, everything is based on male bodies and male experiences, which then leads to a world that simply ignores women's needs. And when I was reading this book, I got very, very, very angry. You know, this book doesn't hate on men at all. Women Don't Owe You Pretty, the book I was talking to about earlier, still, bashes men a bit, but this book does not bash men at all. It's one of those books that I made my boyfriend read as well, because it's so objective. It's based on math, numbers, data. It's statistics. These are hard facts. And when you read them, they will shock you. You will realize that so many of the things that you consume were not even meant for you as a woman, because they were never tested for you. They were tested on a male body and then assumed that is status quo and copy-pasted on you. And in this book, every single chapter focuses on the data gap in different areas of life. Even how cars are designed, when you're driving, not really designed for women bodies, mostly designed for men. How even pianos, they are not designed for women hands, and which is why most piano players that are the best in the world are men, because the average hand size is bigger. And these are small examples that when you keep reading through will start making so much sense. Even the temperature that's there in office spaces, and why women feel so cold is because the temperature that is set in an office, based on these guidelines, universal office guidelines or something, is based on male bodies. And you're just damn, wow. And I think this is very important for every woman to read, so that when you go into areas like tech, healthcare, finance, menstrual hygiene, you start thinking about designing products and testing products on women as well, so that you have all of that data, and it's very, very important to learn that. There are a few examples that are really interesting in this book. One is the data on how bathrooms, public toilets are designed for women and men, as to how men's toilets will have the same space as a woman's toilet. They have urinals and stalls both, but women just have stalls. Whereas it would make so much sense that women are given more space, because women take more time to go to the toilet. A lot of them also have babies and they need to take them into the toilet as well. Whereas men can have more urinals in a smaller space and fewer stalls. Just makes logical sense. But that's not how it's done. But the author also gives a positive example, the city of Vienna, where a lot of women are there in the planning of the city, and a lot of things are designed keeping women in mind as well. It's so important to not make this a men versus women thing, but to just think about the fact that currently a lot of the world is designed for only 50% of the population, and 50% of the population is simply ignored and said, yeah, you just fit into the box that we've created. Which is so crazy. And there's a quote that sums it up really well. In the book, she says, when we say one size fits all, what we actually mean is one size fits men. And if that doesn't make you angry and wants to make you change the world, then I don't know what will. Okay, so the winner in the next category, which is female body and anatomy, is In the Flow. Okay, this book is going to help you get the best, the maximum out of your body. And I'll be honest, I read this book only early this year. And before that, I was just living my life kind of wrong, I would say, as a woman. Because we are not taught anything about our bodies as a woman in school, or even by our parents, at least most of our parents. Because what we're told is, yes, you have a period, you bleed every month, this is how you get pregnant, and that's where the conversation ends. Nobody tells you how to manage your exercising, nutrition, health, body temperature, supplements, nutrients. No, simply not. And you kind of start reading magazines, you read books, you watch podcasts. I did that, and most of them are led by men Or most of the diets, etc., are tested on men and then said that everybody can do that. Remember, invisible women, gender data gap. And then you just follow that without realizing that female anatomy and male anatomy is 100% different, like completely different. So you need tips and advice that is catered to your body as a woman. And this book, In the Flow, basically talks about your infradian rhythm. Now, we all know the circadian rhythm, which is basically our body clock. Our internal body clock wakes up with the sun, goes to sleep as it gets dark. But the infradian rhythm is a 28-day cycle, which is our menstrual cycle, wherein we have 4 phases: the menstrual phase, follicular phase, ovulatory phase, and the luteal phase. And in every single phase, our hormones are different, which means our moods are different, our body's ability to tolerate strain is different, stress level different, creativity, focus, everything is different. And I just didn't know about this. I don't know if you guys did, but if you did, then wow. Good, because I think all of us need to read this book and understand our body and lead life and trust our body rather than trusting magazines and fad diets that we read about. This book busts a lot of myths for me, and also helped me understand how I can biohack my health. The book is written in a very simple, easy to understand way. In the end, it also gives you plans for every single phase of yours. So for example, a nutrition plan. So for when you're in your ovulatory phase, what are the kind of things you should be eating? It doesn't tell you to count calories or any of that. What kind of nutrients your body needs at that time. Then it has a chapter on movement. So for example, in your follicular phase, which is right after your period gets over, you have a lot of energy in your body. You're happy, you're ready to take on new projects, you can exercise a lot. And this is the time when you can really push all those boundaries. Like you can do a lot of CrossFit, a lot of cardio, a lot of exercising. And you can also do a lot of projects in terms of, like, for me, it's like filming videos, talking to a lot of people, being social, taking up new projects. But for instance, when you're in your luteal phase, which is right before when your period starts, you're not going to have so much energy socially, physically, and those are the times when you should do work that's more reflective, where you can, sit and, for example, for me, it's editing and even exercising. You shouldn't be like going to the gym and doing high intensity training and all of that. In fact, you should do more body balance, more yoga, and that is how you can shift your thinking. So rather than pushing every single day like men can, they can do that, and women can too. They can maximize their output in these certain different days and actually get the best out of their body. And I think that's beautiful. We always see our periods as these like demons and devils, but if we just try to understand the female anatomy and how powerful women's bodies are, I mean, we can push a child out of us. We can conquer the world, honestly. It's just about understanding your body, believing in it, and catering to it. The book also talks a lot about fad diets and about how intermittent fasting is said that it's good, keto is good, but it's all actually data that's tested on men, not women, and it's actually not as good for female bodies. So read it, make your decisions accordingly. In the Flow is an amazing book. There's also another bonus book that I'll recommend here called Roar by Stacey Sims. I love her. If you don't read this book, listen to a few podcasts by her. She is so good. She talks more about the fitness side of things because that's her expertise. So she combines like your menstrual cycle with fitness and nutrition. So if you want to dive deeper into this topic, like In the Flow will kind of give you an overall gist, and Roar kind of takes you deep into fitness, nutrition, which is what I'm very interested in. So that is a bonus recommendation. Now we come to category number 4, mindset setting and overall inspiration. And the award in this category goes to... Okay, we have more than one book winning this category, so I'm going to go step by step. Number 1 is Untamed by Glenn Doyle. This book is an easy read. It's following the story of Glenn, where she kind of goes through a huge transformation in her life. She talks about her relation with being an alcoholic, with bulimia, and a lot of different issues. But at the core of it, this book is so important for every single woman to read because it talks a lot about believing in your knowing, which is a concept she introduces in the book, which basically is kind of like the gut feeling that you have as a woman, like your own voice, listening to that rather than the external pressures and influences, expectations that society puts on you. And even if you're not an alcoholic, or if you didn't suffer from bulimia, or you didn't go through a divorce, you'll somehow still relate to this book because a lot of the challenges that she faces are very similar. Like for me, as a woman, traveling solo, starting a career that was driven on me traveling alone to far off distances with strangers, filming, being independent, working out everything by myself financially was very tough to start with because everybody was kind of scared that I'm doing that as a woman. And this tag is as a woman you're doing this, which is a problem, was so frustrating. And while I was reading this book, there were so many things I could relate to. And I think it just empowers you so much by the end of it and shifts your mindset. So highly recommend Untamed by Glenn Doyle. Number 2 is Shooting Star by Shivya Nath. Now, this is not a very popular book that one would recommend in this category, but since I'm a traveler and since Shivya Nath is a woman, she inspired me so much in university when I was in college to just get out there and explore the world on my own, to follow my truth, to write my own story. I was just so inspired by her that I had to include this over here. This is for every woman out there who hasn't lived independently but wants to, hasn't traveled but wants to. This book will help you do that. Trust me, it'll help you pack your bag, move out of your house, be financially independent, travel, and just see the world. It's beautiful. And the last recommendation I have here is Wild. This is a great book too. It's also actually a movie. I've not watched the movie, I've only read the book. It's about a woman who goes on a trek, and long trek. And yeah, I'm not gonna say too much. I don't want to give away too much, but she's battling with a lot of issues. And obviously this is a real story. So I highly recommend it if you want to feel inspired, because I remember I read this and after that I was like, damn, I want to go break all those physical barriers that are imposed on me when they say, you can't do this. Because yes, you can, if you understand your body right and you shed all that conditioning. So those are my top 3 books in this category: Untamed, Shooting Star by Shivya Nath, and Wild. And before ending the video, I thought I'll also share the book that I'm going to be reading next. It's called Women Who Run with the Wolves, and I'm very excited to read it. I've heard a lot of other women recommend it to me. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, because all of these books have knowledge that should not be optional for women to learn. These are necessities. We need to know this. These are essential things that you need to learn as you're growing up. I mean, if I would have a daughter, I would make her read every single one of these books. So that is my gift to you. I hope you read all of these books, enjoy them. Please tell me in the comments if you've read any of these books, or if you have any other suggestions in these categories. Give your own awards in the comments down below so that all of us women can help each other, because when women come together, nothing can stop us. Make sure to subscribe, because I have a lot more exciting videos coming up on topics like these. And if you have a topic suggestion that you'd like me to talk about, be it productivity, tips, anything, whatever it may be, leave a comment down below and I will make a video on it. Okay, sending you lots of love and sunshine. Bye!